again. I really just want to cover a few topics and then throw it open to your questions. And some of the things I hope you already know about. I'll just more in the way of updates, but I think that UK remains focused on building community, on belongingness, both also for our students, for faculty, and for our staff. And we've achieved some recognition that I think a lot of you may know about, but certainly I'm very proud of. And it's all because of everyone's teamwork and how we treat each other that these recognitions come about. So you may remember that we were named a great college to work for by the Chronicle of Higher Ed. And we were only 3 schools in the Southeastern Conference and the only school in Kentucky to be named. Forbes magazine listed us in the top 100 employers for diversity in the country. That's top 100 employers, period, not just universities, but all employers. We were number 41 out of 500, and we were the only SEC school to be included in that. Insight into Diversity magazine named us a Higher Education Excellence in Diversity Award and the Diversity Champion. If I get the numbers right, I think there's only about a half a dozen diversity champions designated nationwide. And then Campus Pride named us in the top 30 LGBTQ friendly colleges. And again, a lot of people work together to make this climate what it is. We're never satisfied, but we're very proud of the direction we're going, and we want to keep going that way. There's also been a lot of recent attention paid to mental health, and let me just speak to that a little bit. It's no secret that we had a number of student deaths very early in the spring semester. We also saw quite a number of students who were actually transported due to suicidal ideation, and in some cases attempts at suicide. And then, through our community of concern and our counseling center, we hear a lot about the challenges that our students are facing with respect to mental health. We did a presentation at the February Board of Trustees meeting about national trends in mental health, and especially looking at how the University of Kentucky compares to the national trends for students. And this is the real news, is that this is a nationwide problem, and it's not just confined to students. Okay, it is confined to, it is cuts across people of all ages, all demographics, and it's most prevalent. The mental health issues are most prevalent in middle-aged men. So even though we're on a college campus and we see, when we see one of our students in trouble, it really resonates with us and captures us. We should realize that everybody on campus is probably touched. Every age demographic, every ethnic, racial demographic is touched by mental health concerns. We reported on that at the trustees meeting. We kind of inventoried the current services that we provide. Again, this was primarily focused on students, and formed a expert task force. So this expert task force, we inventoried our faculty talent across campus and a number of different colleges, found the most kind of renowned researchers in the areas of mental health, in suicide, both in kind of monitoring it, treating it, follow-up services, preventive services, and things of that nature. So we're inventorying all of those as part of the work of this mental health task force. They will also be they'll be looking at gaps in our services. They will be comparing what we do with best practices on other campuses, and it's going to ultimately involve a lot of input from faculty, staff, and students. Again, the initial focus is on students, kind of phase one, if you will. This task force will continue to function to look at how we address similar needs among our faculty and staff. I know there are some resources out there, but we want to make sure that they are robust and that we're serving the entire community. Dean Paula Arnett, not Paula Arnett, that's the Associate Dean of Public Health. My apologies, Donna. Dean Donna Arnett. So just so you know, Donna's Associate Dean is also Arnett. so Don is, my apologies to Donna and to Paula. But anyway, Dean Donna Arnett is co-chairing that task force along with Margaret Pizzacano. Margaret is the Director of Risk Management for UK Healthcare. She's trained, started out as a nurse and then ended up going to law school. And she has had a lot of interaction with the university side when students have had mental health challenges, trying to navigate those regulatory barriers, if you will, of FERPA and HIPAA in terms of privacy on the healthcare side and on the education side, to try to connect those two areas so that we can help the student and help the parents to help their students. So she's kind of an expert in that space. And then a number of faculty and staff that are experts in their own right. Ultimately, that task force will pull together kind of two groups for input. So there'll be a student advisory group, if you will, and then a provider advisory group. And they will be in touch with those two groups to kind of get those perspectives as they make recommendations to the president and to me on how we move forward. This effort's going to take a while. They've already started their work, and we've kind of phased it out. And the first phase is really to look for immediate gaps that we can address and identify those things so we can start working on them over the summer in time for when the students come back. So this is again a pressing issue all over the country. I think it really grabbed our attention when we had this cluster of deaths, and we want to do all we can to provide for the wellness of our students and their success. I do know that Human Resources at UK is offering things to support staff on wellness. There's a series of drop-in workshops focused on self-care, something I'm not very good at, by the way, Katie. I may need to drop in. And this self-care series is going to be presented the third Thursday of every month through November, and it's an open house, so you can come and go. The sessions run from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. in Breckenridge Hall. So that's 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. in Breckenridge Hall. That's a self-care series on the third Thursday of every month. Many of you may not know, but April is also Financial Literacy Month. And in 2015, the university hired a certified financial planner to serve as a financial well-being officer to advise employees. And so there's a nice financial wellness platform for employees, and it's called Enrich. And it's available for free to all UK employees and provides a variety of tools and tips for savings, debt, insurance, and benefits, among other things. So just some highlights of things going on around campus. You might also be aware that there are a number of very important searches that are going on. I'll see if I can remember all of them, but we have 3 national dean searches underway in the College of Communications and Information, in the College of Education, and for UK libraries. I'm happy to say that I have made an offer to a preferred finalist for UK libraries. That person is on campus today. I'm trying to help him make up his mind today, and I think we're going to be successful there. We have the last finalist for the College of Communications and Information on campus starting today, and we'll be here tomorrow. And then next week, you can see this is challenging. So this week, we also had the first finalist for the College of Education, and then the other two finalists will be coming in next week. I also recently announced an internal search for Dean of the College of Social Work. So that college has had an interim dean, I think going on 4 years. It's been a long time. Been very appreciative of Dean Vale's leadership and efforts to improve that college. I consulted with the faculty of the college. They strongly preferred an internal search. And so that is the direction we are headed there. That process is underway. We have a temporary interim dean in the College of Dentistry. That's my Vice Provost, Larry Holloway. And I'm actually engaged in a national search for a longer-term interim dean. So I want a longer-term interim dean who has dentistry training to come into that college, get them on a good path so that we can have a very successful national search for a permanent dean. And then very recently, you may have heard that a couple of administrative leaders on campus were awarded prestigious ACE fellowships, so American Council of Education fellowships. These are opportunities for faculty leaders to go and learn best practices from other institutions and participate in leadership development. This year, we have two recipients. One is Vice President for Institutional Diversity, Sonja Feast-Price, and the other is Dean David Brennan from the College of Law. Dean Brennan is going to take his ACE fellowship away from campus, so he will actually be working on another campus next year as part of his development in that program. And so I am in the search process now for an acting dean of College of Law, and that is a little different from interim dean in that acting means that the current dean is away temporarily and plans to be back, if that makes sense. Interim means you're in between deans. So I think we've had in all of the finalists for the associate dean position in the College of Agriculture, Food, and Environment to run the extension operation. And there's been some truly outstanding candidates for that role, and I know Dean Cox is deliberating right now, and I'm very hopeful we're going to get a strong leader in that role. What am I missing, Anna? Help me. Let's see. Oh, director of what's that? Yeah, the executive director of the Student Center. There's a search going on there. That's very important. And then there's a director for the Center for Interprofessional Health Education. Jim Norton is stepping away and phasing into retirement, and so we're in the middle of a search for that replacement. Probably one of the most important things a provost does is to fill these leadership positions or to help fill them. And it's been a very busy semester on that front. But I think we have some good finalists for all of those roles, and it'll be nice to have some more permanent leadership in place as we move forward. I'll say a little bit about the student protests. That was a very challenging time for us. It was, very poignant for those of us involved in kind of steering the university through that process, to hear about the pain of some of these students, the concern of these students. I think we reached a good solution that is best for the University of Kentucky. You've probably seen the emails from the president on the commitments we've made to address both the needs of students who suffer from hunger, food insecurity, housing insecurity, and also to address some of the real issues of belonging that are experienced by our African American students. With respect to each of those commitments that the university made, we have formed a task force for each, and we are executing, and we're executing in real time and as fast as we can to deliver on all of those things. Some will take longer than others, but we are committed to helping the University of Kentucky be a better place by honoring those commitments as fast as we can. And of course, that's been a focus for a lot of us over the last month or so. And a busy semester for all of us and for me. And I just appreciate all that the staff do to support all that the faculty do and that students and that I do. Very gratifying to hear about the support that I get in particular. So thank you all for being here. I will, I guess, just throw it open for questions now, John. Anything from anywhere? Yes. And I have to toss the mic. You're gonna need two hands. No.
I don't know if I'm a good catcher here.
Part of the.
When you were talking about the different positions for dean, you mentioned some were going to be internal and external. So what things do you consider when you make that decision whether to do internal or external searches?
Thank you. Yeah, good, excellent question. And the default is normally to do a national search, and largely that, whether that happens or not depends on where the college is at that point in time. I think that and that even applies. Remember the provost search. The last provost search was an internal search. So I think as a leader, you just have to look at where initiatives are, where the unit is, and what, do we really need to bring in someone from outside to rejuvenate and bring new ideas? Is there the capacity in the unit at this time who has the right experience to step into that role? But it generally defaults to national searches because I think faculty and staff and students in a unit they want to hear new ideas and bring in new blood, and so I think it is healthy to have that infusion, if you will, from outside occasionally. In the case of social work, they've had an interim dean, which is basically almost 4 years. So in a sense, it's been almost like a permanent dean, and they're in a really good place as a college, and they just launched a new online master's program. There's lots of great opportunities for them out there, and they've got some leaders in that college that are ready to step up. And so that's how I ended up in that decision for the College of Social Work.
Comp. So I have a two-pronged question as it pertains to distance education. So as we're moving more from sort of dipping our toe in the water of online ed to kind of jumping fully in, my first question is, how do we distinguish ourselves in an increasingly competitive and crowded market? And number two, how do we ensure that these are developed and implemented with the same level of quality and rigor as our face-to-face programs?
Thank you. So on the first prong, we are initially focused on programs that leverage the unique expertise of our faculty, but that also align with some workforce needs in the state. So we're trying to be true to our land grant mission in that regard. And it's I'll just throw out a few examples. So in most cases, to start with, we aren't necessarily trying to compete nationally. Now, I think ultimately, as these programs become known, we will compete nationally. But here's 3 examples. One, and I'll get these data not quite right, but it's from memory. We use a data source called Burning Glass. Anyone heard of that? It basically goes out and scrapes the web for job postings. And we can define that by geography and by the type of qualifications for the job. So for example, I think in 2017 and 18, there were roughly 11,000 openings for registered nurses. I think in that same period of time, the entire state of Kentucky produced maybe 4,000 graduates from nursing programs. So that's a gap for sure. And given the health disparities in Kentucky, that's a need that we need to help fill. So in response to that, the College of Nursing proposed an online LPN to BSN program. So someone who's already got LPN training out there practicing now has this opportunity to complete the BSN and help fill those needs. Another one that's actually been very popular in traditional format, and now we're converting to online because of industry demand that is unique to our state, and we have some faculty expertise that is unique to this particular industry. And it's the Certificate in Distillation, Wine, and Brewing Studies offered by the College of Agriculture, Food, and Environment. Seth DeBolt is the lead faculty member over there on that particular online program, and they're also collaborating with the College of Engineering. That need to go online really comes from his contact with the industry, saying, hey, we cannot get enough people trained in distilling that also understand the distilled spirits business. So it's not just knowing the business, not just knowing how to do it, but how to sell it and how to manage it. And so this is meeting a workforce need for the state. So look, we're trying to focus initially on those kinds of programs that will have a regional flavor to them, kind of overlap between our faculty expertise and the needs of the state. And I think a lot of them will end up becoming very popular. So that's a long answer to the first prong. Second prong, we essentially made the decision as a university with a lot of input, from faculty and staff about how do we begin to develop these programs. And there are firms out there called OPMs. OPM means Online Program Manager. And so what'll happen is that a university will outsource the delivery and the operations of the program to this online program manager. And that firm will help develop the courses for online format. They will help promote the programs, will help to serve the students. A lot of that infrastructure is provided, but the typical deal, the universities give up 50% of the tuition for all of that service. We had that discussion here going back several years ago. Our faculty was pretty passionate about wanting to keep control of our curriculum and to serve our students. And so largely we've listened to that. There's one exception that I allowed to use an OPM, and I hope to learn from that, by the way. There is one program using an OPM, but the rest of them are being developed between a partnership between Associate Provost Kathy Kern's office, the Associate Provost for Teaching, Learning, Academic Innovation. We have added resources to her office to help and actually redeployed some resources within her office. So for each of these new programs, we've got a team surrounding that program to help with course development, with course designers, so designing the course, the program for the online environment. We're also providing marketing support, and we've for the 26 programs that we were in the first wave, the partnership between the Provost office and the EVPFA office, most of those programs are getting about $150,000 in startup money to help them to buy out faculty time to help develop the courses, advertising, and we've also invested in some infrastructure to help us deliver programs more effectively. So the university is buying some video servers that are kind of, there's an IT person somewhere here. What's a video server do? It's a good question. Well, I think it's basically a server that is specifically designed to house video content. And it means we control the platform. We don't have to put it all out there on YouTube. It's a place where we can control it. So a lot of that is going on in the background, and I think the programs are progressing pretty well through the Senate process, and they're starting to get advertised. We're getting them through CPE, and so it's going to be very exciting next year to see how all this turns out. Yeah. Oh, so you're going to read it?
Yeah, I'll read it off.
Okay.
It says, is the university considering any type of infrastructure to support online continuing education similar to what we have for Canvas, which is only for degree programs?
The short answer is yes. We are in the process of actually negotiating with the vendor that provides Canvas. There are a couple of different I guess, add-ons to Canvas, and one of them is the ability to use Canvas for non-degree programs. And so we are, I think, in the midst of those negotiations with Canvas right now.
Questions, but I don't want to monopolize.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So this is with the strategic plan. So obviously we're getting ready to phase out the existing strategic plan, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on the timeline for developing the new one, when we're going to start, how long it's going to take, and what that process might look like.
Thank you. So I've actually been thinking about the next strategic plan since the beginning of the school year. The current plan was dated 2015 to 2020. And as I hope you all will recall, starting in the fall and through the early part of the spring semester, the president and I visited every unit, every academic unit, to listen to the leadership teams, the faculty, and the staff, and that really, you know, all of that input really points us to some concerns and needs and opportunities on campus. And so think of that as kind of the first set of information that will inform the next strategic plan. My goal is for us to have a strategic plan ready before the current one ends. So to make that happen, you know, we'll be starting in the fall with a process. President and I have had a number of conversations about the process. I've had conversations with Eric Monday about the process, and I've got Associate Provost Kirsten Turner also helping me think about the process. As I think out loud about it, if you go out and look at any university's website and pull their strategic plan, they all look very similar, and they usually go something like this: we're going to improve on what we're already doing. And you know what? We are never going to stop trying improving on what we are already doing. Okay. Now there may be some specific things that we stop doing. You know, maybe it's program or certificate, or take something in a different direction. And so I want us to think about, how should this university look, not 5 years from now, but how should we look 15 or 20 years from now? Because we are still in a period of disruption as far as I can see, and we need to stay ahead of it. And so I think this next process really needs to push the envelope and think longer term. And we'll continue, right, to set goals on diversity and undergraduate student success and graduate student success, and all the normal things, but what are we going to do above and beyond just improving on those normal things to get us ahead of the next wave in higher education?
I think they're basically wondering if non-UK students can log in and take CE, and if they can use a non-Link Blue ID to do it, if you have that level of detail in place yet.
So I don't have the level of detail in my head, but so there's kind of two threads going here, and it one relates to the ability of non-degree students to take discrete courses, and in particular, we want to, and this is part of our path forward, we want to use capacity that we have in the summer. We want to use capacity that we have online to enable a non-degree student at UK to take certain courses here. That was not very easy to do before, just because of how our website was structured and how all the technology was structured around that. Dean Mark Kornblue, as part of our path forward, led a task force, and that part is enabled. So that it's been characterized to me, it's like an Amazon-like experience now for a non-degree student to be able to get on and in 1 or 2 clicks get into particular courses that are suitable. And think of a lot of students that live in Lexington go off elsewhere to college. They come home for the summer. Maybe they have a job. Maybe if they could take an online course here that helps them, and it helps us use the unused capacity that we have in the summer. The more complicated element is, and I mentioned the distillation, brewing, and distillation wine and brewing certificate. So right now, you would have to be enrolled as a UK student in a degree program to sign up for that certificate. But in reality, we designed that certificate and others like it so that non-UK students who are in the workforce can simply enroll in that certificate program online. And that requires some Senate collaboration and approval, and that process is ongoing. I believe that will be resolved either, I'm not sure if I think it might be this coming up Monday, a Senate meeting, or the following one. But that's been in the works now for several months. The technology, I have no idea, by the way. I have to Oh, good. Yeah.
Follow-up that was talked about some time ago when we were exploring other ways of revenue and helping the community is those people who have have lots of hours, degree hours, have not gotten a degree from UK. How's that progressed as far as seeking those out and trying to get them back on campus? Because I know some of them are non-traditional, and we've not had a good record of treating non-traditional students very well, but I think it's changed over the past year and a half anyways, what I've seen. So how's that working?
I'm a little short on details, but in terms of exact numbers, but there has been our Path Forward group working on that issue. We've identified literally thousands of former students that have a lot of credits. We've also identified probably 100 or more, maybe I think at least several hundred, that have 120 credit hours and never applied for graduation. So we're just trying to facilitate getting them to apply for graduation and get them a degree. It's kind of the low-hanging fruit. The others is part of the new online programs. We have the Bachelor of Liberal Studies, which is offered online, and that's a basket of courses that, depending on the number of credit hours you've completed, it provides flexibility for you to get a degree online. And then there was already a program, a completer degree program existing in the College of Communications and Information that we're still using. And then I believe business is in the process of developing a new online degree program. And I think part of what they're trying to do with that is also enable completer degrees. So that'll continue to be a push. I know from I've heard from Aaron Vaught, who is managing that program. We've had a number of successful stories where people who've gotten their degrees have they're just thrilled and at the opportunity it creates for them. And actually at the Board of Trustees meeting in week after next, part of the report, the Provost report for the Academic and Student Affairs Committee will be a report on the Project Graduate. So you'll have more details then.
I work in the College of Ed, so I feel like I should know this answer, but I don't. Do you know if they're working on some degrees that are non-certification track, so that people who either don't want to necessarily be certified but want to teach, or who can't pass the standardized exams to make it to the later part of the teacher education program could still get a degree? Is that in the works?
Yeah, this gets beyond my expertise pretty quickly, but I do know there's been some changes in how educators and administrative leaders in K through 12 education are certified. And I think our College of Education has stayed ahead of that. I think they have created a number of new degree options that enable, I think, what you're talking about. Yeah, and in fact, I learned about these when the president and I visited with the College of Education. So I know they're either in the pipeline or some of them already exist. Maybe not. Yeah. Okay. One last question, and I've got to head back.
I just had a quick question about the task force. I think the mental health task force, I think it was really illuminating what you shared and how you chose the people with expertise in the field. But I was wondering, is there any concern in looking at the representation? It says faculty and staff. There appears to be maybe 2 staff and mostly executive level, dean level faculty. Is there any concern, or is this just sort of the first process to further develop the program?
Yeah, and that's been a rather frequent question. So to clarify, this is an expert task force, not intended to be a representative task force, if you will. So if we were, if we were thinking of starting a new academic program, or, I mean, this is something that we just really want the experts around the table. But again, there's going to be a lot of outreach from this group to staff, faculty, students, to providers. You'll also notice, I think there aren't any providers on that group either, and that was intentional, because we want them to be objective and think of it as, instead of hiring a lot of really expensive consultants, we found the expertise here, and so it really is intended to be an expert task force, not the normal kind of representative body that we might have for a dean search committee, for example. But there will be plenty of involvement for everybody, believe me. So I thank you, John, for reminding me of the time. I got to sprint back across campus if I can keep up with Anna, which is hard. But thank you all very much for your time, and it's always good to see you, and thanks for inviting me. Thanks.